Hello BookTube, my name is Adrian and welcome back to my channel. So today I am bringing you my September wrap up. It's crazy to me that we're already into the month of October because good lord, this year has gone by so fast, and where I live the weather still hasn't changed, so it still feels like summer here. It's still in the high 70s, low 80s all the time, and it's humid. So it still feels like summer, but hopefully we'll transition into fall soon. So needless to say, it's been a crazy month, the month of September, preparing for a baby and also just life in general. But even with all of that going on, I still managed to read 8 books in the month of September, which is pretty awesome. I think we should just go ahead and get into this video so I can tell you all about the books that I read in the month of September. So the first book that I read in the month of September was Lost in a Book by Jennifer Donnelly. This book is a Beauty and the Beast book. This book came out right about the time that the movie did, so this book follows more closely to the movie storyline than it does to the original Disney storyline. This book follows Belle during the time where she's living with the Beast before the events at the end of the movie take place, but after she has already traded places with her father. I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. It's kind of hard to explain because I honestly don't fully know what happened, to be honest. I really don't truly know what happened in this book, or like why things happened. I know what happened, like I know the story, I know, you know, the details, but I don't get it, and I don't get how it's supposed to follow the movie in any way. There are details that are in the movie that are there, but like I said, okay, I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. It was just kind of okay. It was just strange. I didn't love it, but I didn't care for it either. I didn't hate it. So it was just a 3 stars for me, just kind of middle of the road book. So I read Lost in a Book during kind of a reading slump. It took me a little while to read through and I wasn't really in the mood for much. So I decided that the best thing for me to do was to start rereading something that I knew that I liked, and maybe something that I hadn't read in a long time, to see if my thoughts had changed on it. And for that, I decided to pick up The Selection by Kiera Cass. This was a book I think I read for the first time back in 2013. And at the time, I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. If you do not know what this book is about, it's about America's Singer who is chosen to be in a bachelor style competition where she goes up against 35 other girls to basically win the prince of this land's heart and end up being the princess and one day queen. I ended up giving this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars, and so just a tiny drop from what I initially gave it the first time I read it. And that's mostly just because now that I am a little bit more of a mature reader, I'm okay with giving half stars, and even if I find something annoying, I'm okay with not still saying I gave it 5 stars, versus I read these initially at a time when I thought that my rating systems either need to be 5 stars, 3 stars, or no stars. Like, I was not a very mature book rater at the time. So I ended up giving this book 4.5 out of 5 stars because there were some things that just kind of I rolled my eyes on a lot and found a little bit of annoying, but nothing too severe, nothing crazy. America's Singer sometimes is just annoying. It makes some weird choices and some things I just don't understand, but she is meant to be read. That was the way she was written, so it's understandable. And I still love this story. I love, you know, the way that she and the prince's relationship grows and all of those things, and kind of the dystopian world that this takes place in is also very intriguing to me. So I definitely enjoyed this one. I think I enjoyed this one as much as I did the first time. I've just learned my rating system better since I've read this the first time. After that, I continued to reread books, and I decided that I was going to pick up the first book in a series that I have been meaning to continue, but wanted to reread the first book to kind of get a refresher on. So I picked up Cinder by Marissa Meyer. This book I initially gave 5 out of 5 stars when I first read it back in 2014, I believe. This time when I read it, I only gave it 3 out of 5 stars. If you do not know what this book is about, it's a retelling or inspired story based on the story of Cinderella, if you couldn't guess from the title, in which the main character, Cinder, is a cyborg, and she ends up meeting the prince of this world. He doesn't know that she's a cyborg. Some stuff happens. It's all kinds of dramatic. I ended up giving this book 3 out of 5 stars this time around. And I think that's just because, again, I read this in a time when I had not learned my own rating system yet. And so I was still giving books, you know, mostly 5 stars just because I didn't want to give them anything less if I did like them. So this time around I gave it 3 stars, and that's because there were things in this book that stressed me out, where I was just really like making myself stressed and worried, and that kind of decreased my enjoyment of the story a little bit. So I ended up giving this book, like I've said several times, 3 out of 5 stars, just because I didn't enjoy it as much as I could have, because I was stressing myself out. And I hate scenarios where there are no-win situations because they stress me out, and this book had a no-win situation at the end and I just couldn't cope with that. So I gave it 3 out of 5 stars because the story was still enjoyable, but I just couldn't handle it. So after I finished my stress-inducing reread of Cinder, I decided I wanted to pick up another reread, because most of the books I read this month were rereads, and I decided I wanted to go back, continue reading on in the selection series, so I picked up The Elite, also by Kiera Cass. Again, I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars when I initially read it because I didn't think it was okay for me to give a book in a series that I really loved anything less than 5 stars. So I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars initially, and upon rereading it, I gave this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. I still love this book. I do. I really do still love this book. However, I was so annoyed with America the whole book. And I remember being this annoyed with America the first time I read this book too. Nothing has changed, in my opinion, of this book between the first time I read it in 2013. Nothing has changed, in my opinion, of this book between now and 2013, the first time I read it. But I have just changed my willingness to rate books. And so I rated this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. America Singer drove me nuts. I didn't like the choices she was making. Even though I know how the series turns out, she just drove me crazy. So I did still enjoy this, and I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. After that, can you guess what book I read next? The One by Kiera Cass. Again, the first time I read this book, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. And this time, I gave this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. Just a little bit of a drop. And that's because I love the way this series wraps up. I really do enjoy the way it ends. It's heartbreaking and soul-crushing sometimes for my investment in these characters, and I just really enjoy kind of the way that it all wraps up, in the sense of not everything is wrapped up with a nice little bow. Yes, there are some things that feel a little convenient, but there's always some stuff, it seems like, in books that feel a little convenient to me. So I don't think that detracts from me enjoying a book, but there were things that America did, and that Maxon did, and choices that were made, and scenarios that were played out where I just rolled my eyes and was like, oh, this is so stupid. So in those situations, I did decide to knock half a star off, just because there was a lot of eye rolling on occasion. But again, it didn't distract from my enjoyment of the story, and so I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. After I finished the selection series, I was still kind of in the mood to reread some old favorites, but I wanted something that was a little more autumn inspired to me, and so I decided to pick up Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I have only read this book once. This is only the first time I've reread this book, and I really enjoyed it just as much as I did the first time. The first time I read it, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and this time I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. And this is including the fact that my reading tastes have changed since I read it for the first time in 2013. But I still really love this book because I love the fandom aspects of it, and the fan fiction writing, and just Catherine's relationship with Levi and her relationship with Reagan, her roommate. And I really enjoyed the way that this book explores first year of college, and it's just a heartwarming book to me. Yes, there are things that are hard and things that suck and things that, you know, are very hard topics to discuss, but I really did love everything about this book. And it was definitely a good choice for me to reread this one in the fall. Plus, because it takes place at the beginning of a school year, or throughout the first semester of a school year, I really did just, oh, hello cat. Because it takes place during the first semester of a school year, I really did just get a very autumny feel to it, and I am so excited for sweater weather because that's a huge part of what I thought about when reading this book, is how much I cannot wait to be able to wear sweaters again and cardigans and warm fluffy things. After I read Fangirl, I could definitely feel myself kind of coming out of my reading slump that I had been in, and I accidentally started a month-long free trial of Kindle Unlimited on Amazon, and so I decided I was going to go ahead and pick up some Kindle Unlimited books that I had been seeing around on there for a while and seemed kind of interesting. So I decided to pick those up because I could get the audiobook for free through Kindle Unlimited. And so I decided to pick up The Paper Magician by Charlie Holmberg, I believe is how you say her last name. This book follows the main character, Cinder, who is forced to become a paper magician. In this world, you can bond to elements that are man-made, such as paper, glass, iron, things like that. You can bond to those kinds of elements, and it allows you to do magic with them. You can, if in the case of paper magic, you become what is called a folder, and you can basically form origami things and speak magic to them, and they come to life or do certain things. And it was a very interesting magic system to read about. Cinder is studying paper magic under a magician named Emery Thane, and she is his apprentice, and she is starting to kind of enjoy the paper aspect of things. And then one day, an excisioner, who is a dark magic, basically someone who has the power to control blood and flesh, which is evil and dark in this world, obviously, breaks into the cottage that they live in, and this is not a spoiler because it's in the description of the book, rips out Emery's heart. And so in an effort to save his life, Cinder goes after this woman to get his heart back and be able to save his life, and some really crazy things ensue from this adventure. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it, and I really liked the writing style of it. I didn't expect to love this book as much as I did because it was a free book that I could get on Kindle Unlimited. I really didn't expect to have such great books be offered up for free. But this really was a good book, and I really enjoyed this story. Because I really enjoyed this first book, as soon as I finished it, I moved on to the second book in the trilogy, which is The Glass Magician. This book takes place a few months after the events of the first book, and I'm not going to give you too many details because it will spoil the first book, so there's not going to be a synopsis for this book, but I did really enjoy this one as well, and I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars as well. It was a very good book and very surprising, and so as soon as I finished reading The Last Magician, I picked up the last book in the trilogy, which I have since finished, but it was in the month of October, so stick around for my October wrap-up at the end of this month if you are interested to hear my thoughts on that book. But yeah, I really enjoyed these books, and like I said, I didn't expect to enjoy these books because, you know, I didn't expect much from a free book that I could get on Amazon. Alright guys, that is all that I have for this video today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know down below some books that you read in the month of September, or if you have read any of these books that I have read, what you thought of them as well. If you enjoyed this video, please like and maybe subscribe to my channel to get notifications for when I post. I post videos every Friday and then either Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on the week. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you on my next one. Bye.